Hi.
Hey,
Thank you so much for coming over.
thank you for having me. Really, really excited.
I am so happy that you were able to make it. I'm
hmm
shocked that you don't come to LA that
I
often.
know I'm never here,
But
like
you
ever.
you're very like quintessential New Yorker. The more I get to know you, the more that I know that you're a quintessential New Yorker. And you were born in Brooklyn, yes?
Yes, born, raised, lived in Brooklyn forever, moved to Tokyo for 4 years, and came back, and then went to school upstate, Bard College.
Okay, wow. So how did you
Yeah.
end up in Tokyo?
My stepfather at the time was a banker,
Uh-huh.
and they were doing banker things, and we had to move.
Oh,
So yeah.
interesting.
hmm So that
Okay.
was fun. I went to St. Mary's International there. And
In
I was living in Shinagawa. It's like this tiny area in Tokyo.
Whoa, do you speak the language?
I was really good, and then I came back and went to like public school in Brooklyn. So like I said Brooklyn. I went to school in Manhattan, public school in Manhattan, and then
Wait, if
yeah,
you were living in
like
Brooklyn, how did you go to public school in Manhattan? I'm
what?
Canadian, so I don't.
Oh really?
Yeah.
So normally you're like zoned to different
Yes.
schools,
Yes.
but there's like some specialty schools that you can like kind of test into,
Uh
and I
huh.
tested into when I got in.
Uh huh. So you were like gifted in some way?
I mean, somewhat, I guess. I don't know. Gifted for like a high schooler, like a middle
No,
schooler.
that's a big deal. As someone who like flunked out of high school.
Oh whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. What my last grade was 11, I think.
Oh whoa.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I didn't
Definitely
know
like
that.
didn't. I think most people probably assume that I wasn't a high school dropout, but they would
Yeah.
be wrong.
Oh my God, that's
So
really
you
interesting.
finished everything
Mm-hmm.
and you went to college.
Yeah.
Bard.
Mm-hmm. Bard College, upstate. That was a wild ride. It
Like
was a learning
sex, drugs,
experience.
rock and roll, or what?
I wish it was like
No,
just really like hippy dippy and like
paintbrushes.
imagine going from Bed-Stuy to like
Upstate.
the middle of nowhere.
Republicans.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Where upstate?
It's they have so much acreage that they have their own zip code. So it's Annandale. It's called Annandale on the Hudson, but it's near like Red Hook, Tivoli, like
Oh, yeah,
Kingston,
yeah.
Hudson. Yeah.
Were there a lot of black people there or no?
No, I was like probably one of like the five.
Really?
Yeah, so imagine that. I was
So,
like,
no,
take
I
me
can.
home.
I went to like a very white school. But, and I feel like that's very,
Survivors.
yeah, that's very formative. Where
hmm
you, for, like, Beth Ann Hardison always says this thing where she was like, because she was like integrated into a white school.
Yeah.
She was like one of the first rounds of integration.
hmm
And she was like, well, if you're going to go to a theme park, you may as well ride the fucking rides,
She would
And
say that.
yeah, she said that. And she was like the valedictorian and like the captain of the cheerleading team
Of
or
course.
whatever. Did you integrate into that way or were you like, I'm alone and I'm black?
Oh no, like I think I integrated pretty easily and pretty well. Obviously I was like an anomaly up there. So everybody was like, "Ooh, what's this thing?" And I met a lot of people. I had like a lot of like obviously weird interactions
Experiences.
and experiences, but at the same time made a lot of like really great friends. A lot of people that I know to this day, like from Bard. But it was definitely a learning experience and I would always run home. It just I didn't really feel comfortable at Bard until like maybe my senior year. I
Really?
feel like that's when I started to really like learn the ropes, but it's
Why
too
didn't
late
you leave?
because I was on a scholarship and I didn't
Okay.
want to pay.
Right.
Yeah,
So you were like, I'm going to stick it
I
to
was like, I'm
this.
stuck because I went to school for neuroscience, so I was like on a neuroscience like scholarship. I know.
Wait, you went to school for
Yeah,
neuroscience? You were on scholarship for
yeah,
neuroscience at Bard?
yeah. So like, and
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 you
I was
ended up in
black, so they were like,
fashion?
you're not going anywhere. So I was like, okay, cool, just
Whoa.
pay for my school,
So
I'll
then what
stay.
happened?
So I mean, my family's Jamaican, so it's very like doctor, lawyer, no other career exists.
Uh huh.
So, and then unfortunately, I was really good in the sciences, like all throughout school. Um, so I got into a couple schools. I chose Bard. I loved science. I still love science. I love learning. I love the learning aspect of it, but I wouldn't want to practice it. That wasn't going to be like my job. So every spring semester, I mean, spring break, winter break, summer break, I would lie to my parents and say I got like some like science internship, but I was
Really?
really like, yeah, at like Nylon magazine, the fashion closet, and I didn't tell them.
Whoa.
And I would do that every break for like 3 years, and
Where did they think that you were interning when you were actually at
I
Nylon
don't know.
Magazine?
I would just tell them I
Like you're
got
like,
into
I'm at Mount
something, and they were
Sinai.
just like, yeah, we trust and believe you, sure, and we just kept it at that.
When did you come clean?
Oh, so this is the best story. I didn't tell them anything until senior year at graduation. I had switched my major into because I had enough credits to also do American Studies, so I double majored and turned it into neuroscience, focusing on like it's like I just joined American Studies and Neuroscience. My
Okay.
senior thesis was 141 pages on Dan von Furstenberg in the wrap dress and like the psychology behind it.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
very weird. But at Bard, what they do, which is really annoying, is they don't just say your name when you graduate. They also like say your thesis, and it's like written out in the little program. So my family saw that shit. Sorry,
So
they
they
saw it
thought.
day of graduation. I'm a Libra, so I was
Okay,
like,
so
you have to
you have
sit
to paint
there.
this picture for me. So who's coming to the graduation?
This is half of Jamaica. It's like my mom, every aunt, my stepdad.
Right.
Like my mom's a
And
lesbian. Like they've really been separated. He was there. Like everybody was there.
okay, and they're
And
like, Brandon is graduating from Bard
yes,
for neuroscience, and
uh,
he is going to be the next. What do they
something,
think?
yeah.
Oh my God.
And I literally orchestrated the whole, I was like, you guys have to sit right here. Like, this is going to be the best angle for the photo when I cross the stage. So they had the best seat too. So when I found that out, my last name's Blackwood. So I was like early on to walk across. I just remember sweating and being like,
Oh my God. So
shit,
they're
like,
sitting there, you're standing backstage.
mm-hmm,
They're calling everyone's names and they're like, this is
mm-hmm,
John White, and his
yeah,
thesis is on how to split the atom and like
yeah.
grow new brains for humans.
And
And then
yeah,
they're like, and Brandon
they said
Blackwood.
Brandon Blackwood, senior thesis, Dan von Furstenberg, feel like a woman, wear a dress. When I tell you, I walked across that stage, I didn't look back. I sat still, and we had the quietest car ride home.
No.
Yeah, it really sucked. And I moved out like right away.
You did?
Yeah.
What did they say to you? Did they ever say anything?
I mean, yeah, everyone was like super disappointed. But then,
Oh,
and then I made it worse by I applied for a radiation therapy program because I felt so guilty. But I was like, I didn't do anything with radiation. So like, there's no way I'm gonna get in. I got into the fucking program. So then I got into the program, so then they were happy again. And then I dropped out
oh no.
and started working retail. So you could imagine how they felt.
Whoa. So you're someone who has like consistently tried to please people and then
Hmm.
realized, like, okay, I'm just
It's not for
sacrificing
me.
who I am.
Hmm. Yeah.
How do you think that you learn to not sacrifice who you are? Because most people just roll with it.
I think I'm still kind of learning that.
You are.
I think fashion has really helped me escape what could have been.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I think there's now a new type of people pleasing that I have to kind of do for
Mm-hmm.
work
Mm-hmm.
and just life. But I don't know. It's really rough. It's really interesting. I think fashion, though, has really given me a stronger sense of like identity and independence and like who I am. I'm definitely more confident than had I done any other field.
Why do you think that you were drawn to fashion?
I don't know. I'm like gay boy from Bed-Stuy. Like, I wanted,
Yeah.
I loved anything that was glam. I loved just like anything really loud. I'm also Jamaican, the dance hall
Yeah.
culture. I just think naturally I was just attracted to shiny things. I
Mm-hmm.
just wanted to be in that arena. I remember like during Fashion Week, the free newspaper you get on the subway.
Yeah. What was that? What is that called again?
Oh my God, it's not New York Post. What was it called?
I forget. But yeah, they're
Yeah.
always daily front row.
Yeah, like,
Yeah, yeah.
and I just remember I would go and I'd be like in
Do you go to Bryant
lunchtime.
Park, like the
No, no,
tents?
no.
Okay, okay. No,
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 I
no.
had to go to school.
Okay. Okay.
But I had the newspaper and like in class, I'd like look at the reviews of like all the shows and stuff, and I was like, "This is so
Did
bad."
you like the catty reviews or you like the nice reviews?
I like,
You
I
liked the
liked it
catty
all.
reviews. You liked it all.
Yeah,
What do you think of reviews now? Do you think they're good or you think
I
they're
don't read fashion reviews now.
I don't think anyone does.
No, I think honestly, social media is its own review in its sense
Mm-hmm.
now. I think everyone before, only a select amount of people had a voice.
Mm-hmm.
Now everyone, whether you work in fashion or you don't, you can leave a comment and press send. So,
Do you like that or no?
when I first started, I hated it
Mm-hmm.
because I used to get my feelings hurt all the time, especially on Twitter. Oh, they would tear me up.
Really? What would they
Oh
say?
God, they were rough with me.
What would they say? Was this Black Twitter?
It's all Twitter, but yeah,
You're like every corner of
they
Twitter hated
would
me.
whoop my ass, but they also like champion me and like really be for me. So it was like a very weird thing.
Well, it's a love-hate
There were
relationship.
times where I trended number 7 on Twitter
You did?
for not, yeah, because people were
For
cursing me
what?
out.
Because they were cursing you out.
Cursing me out, and I cried in my house
But
for
what did
3
you
days.
do? What year was this?
This was like early, like 2021. Oh
Okay,
my
that
God.
tracks.
We had a production issue with this one style of bag, and it was not good. But at that
And
point,
you were
I
trending
wasn't,
number 7 on
because
Twitter
we sold so many, and
so that
people
means
were
that
like
you sold a
hated
lot
that.
of the bag.
Yeah, we sold thousands of units, but people were not happy. And now it's really funny
What, it
because
like wouldn't close properly or something?
no, the print was wrong, and my QC didn't catch it.
The print was wrong,
Yes, so
so it
like
was
on
like
the
support systemic
all right,
racism
this is
instead of
really traumatic.
no. I
Like,
listen.
please
You're like
stop.
you're hurting.
Like,
Listen, okay, I'll tell you a really traumatic story
okay.
that happened to me. Traumatic production story. I
Yeah.
wrote about it in my book. Honestly, this is awful. I only wrote it down because I thought it would be therapeutic to get it
Yeah.
out. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to write about this in my book. Anyways, what happened was we delivered a lot of Maasai sandals, which were like these $1,000, I think they were $1,500, like lace up, beaded, feathered,
Oh, God.
gladiator sandal, completely made in Kenya. This is like peak Coachella vibes. And we had sold them. I had made like this weird deal with the devil, and I had sold them to Nasty Gal. Okay. You guys are already like, why? But
Yeah.
this is a different, different chapter. So I was very broke. So they get them, and then I get this call from Nasty Gal. This is like, it's like hard for me to even relive the story. I get this call. It's actually an email from Nasty Gal basically saying like, we got all of your shoes from Africa, and by the way, they're infested with bugs.
Oh my God. Shit.
When I tell, and by the way, I was in the middle of the fashion fund, and it was a television show on Amazon, reality show.
Oh God.
When I tell you, I wanted to die.
I couldn't imagine.
I wanted to die. It was just like everything horrible all at once.
While being stressed in fashion.
Yes. And I'm like, oh my God, like, first of all, no, this cannot possibly be true. Second of all, what the hell? Third of all, this is like bad PR for the entire continent of Africa. 4, there's no way I'm recovering from this.
Did you ship it by boat?
We didn't. We shipped it.
It was by air?
We shipped it by air, and legally you fumigate everything before
Yeah.
it leaves. Literally everything. Anyways, long story short, and I can tell this now because I think they're like out of business. But I ended up flying down there, like lying to Vogue and being like, oh, I have a doctor's appointment. Sorry, I can't come tomorrow. And I flew with my assistant at the time, who like was not the girl for the job because she showed up to the airport in a hazmat suit. Not kidding.
No.
But we made it work. Shout out to Samantha Shefsky, who's now a trad wife. We love that for you. It's your calling. But like we get there to like it's like we're like in Oklahoma or something like that. And we're at a fulfillment center, and they're shook because I'm there. And I end up like going through the shoes with a magnifying glass. I'm like on the phone with my lawyer. It was like a whole thing, you know, and I'm being so nice because you have to kill them with kindness at this point. And my number one goal was like to not have to refund these units, but to also make sure they don't get out there in the world. And also the woman from Nasty Gal was like, you know, we wouldn't want the press to find out about this.
Oh God.
But I was also like, girl, the money's gone. There's no refund. Yeah. So long story short, like we end up going through all the shoes. I'm super stressed. Shoot, one by one. We're trying to do all these like weird fumigation things. And then this one woman I'm like, has this like ever happened? And I find one bug. Okay. My lawyer's like, you must take photos of the bug. Whatever you find, you must take photos of the bug. I'm getting photos of the bug. He has like a bug expert on standby. Right. So I'm sending these photos. They come back. They're like, we think that it's a bed bug. And I'm like, bed bug? Like that's not going to survive fumigation. That's also not going to survive like from Kenya 4 months ago to now. Then I find out from girls that work there, they were having bed bug issues. Okay. Could you imagine?
That would have been insane.
Could you imagine?
I mean, that was insane.
The shame that I carried from that experience still sits with me. So I actively like seek out, like someone also told me this one thing once, which is super crazy about like a designer who we all know, like had an issue where a fur product landed in a store that ended up being like an unidentified
I know that
animal.
one.
Right.
Yep.
So like there's stuff like that happens all the time. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all just doing
our best. We're doing our best. And it's weird because once it gets to the customer, you know what I mean? It is your full responsibility, whether you knew or don't. And it's kind of what happened with me. I did a whole apology, did the whole thing. I grew 50,000%, which is like unheard of in 1 year.
50,000%
it like doesn't make
in
sense.
1 year?
Yes.
So how did you even keep up with that production?
Literally, I had been with that factory for years at that point. Like, we'd worked together so long that they basically just stopped taking everybody else, and I was using that whole factory. To this day, my factory has like their name and then a Brandon Blackwood logo and like an image on the front of the factory.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Where are they based?
They're in China and Asia, but then we've been working. It depends. We work with some people in Turkey as well.
So are the tariffs like going to just like annihilate you or what?
That's what we're figuring out, but
that's what I've been on calls about all weekend.
Everyone's going to have to figure it out. So I'm like, I'm not going to stress because everyone's going to have to.
Stressed.
We're all stressed. We're all going to have to deal with it. And we all are going to need to sell a product. So there is going to have to be some type of solution.
Right.
So I'll stress when like I have to pay that invoice. But until then, I'm like, just keep going as normal.
Right.
See what happens.
Right. Okay. So you grew 50,000%. Was this in 2020?
Yeah.
So I first found out about you, I think in 2020, probably with the bag that said end systemic racism. But this is your 10-year anniversary, right?
Yeah.
This year. So you were already 5 years in when basically the world found out about Brandon Blackwood in 2020. Yeah. And it was largely with the end systemic racism bag, right?
Yeah.
How did that feel?
It was kind of surreal. I remember when we made them, I made like a very small amount of units because I was just like, okay, this is like going to be our thing that we do for the movement. And
so that bag was like a George Floyd specific.
We were literally living in this moment. You know what I mean? So we did it. I remember posting it, and I didn't have like a marketing budget or anything like that. So I literally just posted like, I think just holding it against a white backdrop. And that was like the most likes I've ever gotten on anything, the most like traction I've ever gotten like in my life. And the units were on the way, but I was like, I don't think we ordered enough. And as soon as they landed, they were gone. And
you were like, we ordered 25?
Yeah, like it was very small. I forgot how many, like 100 or something. It was just something silly.
Small.
And they flew. Then we just kept doing it. And I remember telling my team at that time was like, I think like maybe 3 people. I was like, I need to make as many products now while eyes are on me.
Right.
So that's when I really like started pushing like my trunk bags and like all the other stuff. I was making new styles like every 3 months just to like
keep it out there.
The trunks kind of picked up off of that hype. And then from there, it just like flew. It was the craziest thing I think I've ever experienced.
When it was happening at the time, like, what was the feeling? Because it was bittersweet too, right? Because we're also all locked at home or wherever. I mean, I was locked in Brooklyn. I was barely seeing anyone. It was painful, but then also, I mean, for me at least, like I had I guess it was like March. I was starting to prepare, like, okay, my business is going to be over. I mean, no one was buying $800 shoes at a global pandemic stay-at-home order. And like when they sporadically would, I just sort of like was scared for that person, you know, honestly. Like I was like, whoa, this person's stressed, you know?
Yeah, like
you just bought like a high heel and like, you know,
the world might end.
Right. Yeah. So there was that. And then I was trying to just figure out what to do to not have to like lay off staff members. Then I made cloud socks happen and I was good.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember the cloud socks.
Cloud socks saved the day, you know, so that was like my lifeline for sure, the whole company. But, and listen, I was grateful for the cloud socks and then, you know, things happened and we also grew a lot that year. But it was like, it was a weird feeling.
It was. I didn't feel too weird because I went from 0 to 100. So
Right. It was a great feeling.
I was having a great time.
Right.
Obviously, I'd prefer if I was able to go outside while experiencing all this, but it was kind of insane.
Bananas.
Yeah, it was such a great moment. But the shitty part was I had to learn very quickly and almost like too quickly.
Right.
So I didn't have like a warehouse. I had
Right.
to find a warehouse in like 2 months. Onboarding a warehouse can take up to like 4 months. You know what I mean?
Right.
My head of logistics, who's still here now, Nima, before that, she was like working at a gym. She was my friend. I was like, hey, can you just like help me with this? She was helping with my customer service, and like now she's head of logistics, managing like
Wow. Great.
thousands of
Amazing. We
people.
love this for
Yeah.
her.
My team kind of formed like that. I remember I bought a townhouse in Bed-Stuy, and it was a two-family. The first family was where the brand was.
Oh, wow.
And every day, it was 8 of us coming to my house. I would cook all the girls like lunch and breakfast or like
Oh,
dinner and
cute.
stuff. And we would just sit down there and just work and just do everything at one table. My mom bought like this like little glass table,
Uh-huh.
and it was just all of us around it every day. Like I would
Wow.
wake up upstairs from my in my pajamas, run downstairs, and we start the day. We were doing some of our like biggest deals. None of us knew what we were
So it
doing.
was like a dream come true
Yeah, it
in
was
so
so
many
much fun.
different.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was nuts though.
But how, like 50,000% is
Hmm.
huge growth. And I think, you know, one of the reasons why this podcast is called Friends and Family is
Hmm.
because for so many entrepreneurs, like when you're growing or when you're starting your
Hmm.
business, everyone was like, oh, you should fundraise from friends and family.
Yeah.
And I think one of the huge things, at least we've seen of the 15% pledge, is like
Hmm.
a lot of businesses had and are growing, right? Post
Hmm.
2020, but it's like, how do you fund and sustain that?
Yeah.
So to me, when you're like, we grew 50,000%, the first thing that's happening in
Hmm.
my mind is like, how did you pay for that? You
I
don't
mean,
know.
with the money coming in, like to this day, I
Right,
don't
because it
have
was
the.
direct to consumer.
Yeah. So to this day, I don't have an investor. It's
Major
just like,
unlock,
yeah,
the direct to consumer part.
we're strict. We're not strictly anymore, obviously, but
Right.
D2C is our bread and butter. Like, I would say I could go and never have wholesale again and be fine. Like, it's not a very big part of our business. I I love Neiman's and Saks and all the people. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong.
You're like, don't get me wrong, guys. I
Yes, I
love
love being in there. We have a great sell through too, but
you.
basically, D2C was kind of our bread and butter, and I really, really focused on that like very early on because before I had like a budget to do marketing, do anything like that, I would just put my samples on my kitchen table and just record them
Right.
and post them and be like, do you guys like this color or this color? And I would literally take a poll from my customers, and I call them
Right.
my cousins.
That's
And
cute.
all my swatches, I was posting all of my swatches and having people like do polls and like what do they like more. Um, some styles only exist because of Instagram and Twitter and people telling me I should do it. So
It's that part's crazy. Like I
it's
remember doing the last like big campaign shoot that I did. Those, you know, they're very expensive. You
yeah.
do all the things. It's so much prep. People are
Hmm.
flying in. Da 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 da. You love the photos. Oh my gosh, I remember like posting one of the photos and looking at the engagement, seeing how it impacted our direct to consumer sales. And then I remember like the
It's like
next day I like threw a pair of shoes on the floor and took a picture and it like
10
performed
times
better.
better. Hmm. Yeah.
And I was like, oh no, I think like modeling's dead.
No, it's like a thing. I feel we joke around and say same thing. I've spent like 150 and up on like shoots before.
Right.
Horrible traction. But when I'm at home, just like, ring
Right.
light, holding the bags and showing people the bags, that's our best thing. When like if something's selling slow, my staff will be like, Brandon,
You have
this
to
bag, like, do something. And I'll
right.
go on live and just talk about it, And that's I think what's really, really helpful. I also think though, like Gen Z millennial customers, like that traditional just, billboard type marketing doesn't really work. I think people care about like the overall ethos of a brand and not just the product anymore, unless it's like a $3 thing from Temu. I think if they're spending more money on something, they want to know everything about that brand. They have to like you, the person behind it. And I really think that's where we've like excelled. It's just like, you know, I've gained a lot of new cousins and they've really carried the brand through. I don't think the fashion world would have taken me seriously at all if it wasn't for them. Like, I applied to every grant and thing you could imagine. Always shot down. I remember one year I did 3 million sales and I was like, oh, I'm going to get into this program. Shot down again. And I always said, maybe like the larger fashion world just never gonna take me seriously. And I think just from the sheer number and volume of just like how intense the brand was, you couldn't ignore it anymore, you know? And I think that's what happened with me. And I
Yes.
feel like I've become like in New York, like the commercial girly. Like I have a lot of my friends like have like very serious like editorial, just like intense brands, and I'm definitely like the more everyday, and I'm fine with that. I love my little like niche moment.
I mean, you're the one that bought the house,
Period.
you know?
Yeah.
But I will say, like, it's interesting that you talk about that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I think for so many people,
Mm-hmm.
and we've talked about this before, but it's like for so many people, especially in New York, it's like
Mm-hmm.
they want to apply to the program, they want to win the award, they want to do all those things because part of it's about people pleasing too,
Yeah.
right? And then it's like, oh, if I don't do this, like when I was first starting out, it was like if you didn't sell at Barney's, like there had to be something
Yeah.
wrong with you, you know. And I never sold at Barney's, so everyone was
Same.
like always like, oh my god, like are you ever gonna get into Barney's? And I would be like, no, they said that my shoes are too raw and complicated, I don't think I'm getting in, because that
Yeah.
also feels like code for racism or something. I don't know, maybe not.
Raw and complicated.
Yeah, raw and complicated. I was like, what, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, well, you know, the Africa thing, the materials, and like the leather,
What?
the Springbok,
They
like
told
what
me
are we
my
talking
brand
about?
had no direction, so there we go.
Really?
Yeah. And I put it on a billboard, and that was like my marketing thing. It did so well.
What did it say?
The billboard said, Barney said my brand has no direction. And there was a picture of my bag. I put all over Soho. Yeah, girl. Yeah,
Oh,
look it
I
up.
missed
It was
that.
cute. It was a fun little moment. But they're out of business then, so like I was thinking. I misspelled the thing, so
You misspelled Barney's? Like you didn't use the apostrophe.
legalities were taken,
Yeah.
so that I was good.
Right.
But yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I will say I remember, and I'm coming clean on this.
Mm-hmm.
I remember one day sitting somewhere and someone brought up your brand to me,
Mm-hmm.
and it was one of the first times I'd ever heard of it.
Mm-hmm.
And they were walking me through. It was a program. Everyone can use their imagination.
Mm-hmm.
And someone was talking about how much they loved it.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember being like, I don't get it. Like it says
Mm-hmm.
end systemic racism on a bag. Like I
Mm-hmm.
don't get it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting when I think back to that, like what was my experience? Like why did I have that?
I think because that bag brought so much popularity to the brand that it was hard to look at the other styles in the overall brand. So I think a lot of people just saw that and that's the only thing I could do.
Yeah, I felt like I was like, I don't know if I was mad at it.
It's just it's a canvas tote with words. So you're like, how is this going to like be special beyond this? But I was making so much other stuff.
No,
Yeah.
for sure you were. And as you rightly pointed out, you were doing this for 5 years
Yeah.
before you made this like one-off
Yeah.
bag, which like isn't any different than a lot of the other stuff that like we all made during that time. Masks, nap dresses, you know, everyone had their own little thing.
Yeah.
I don't know like what it was. Because then subsequently afterwards, whenever I would see someone with the bag, I would be like, oh, great. Like I started recognizing especially your trunks all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and the girls in my office were like obsessed, and I would always it was always great. People love you. They love the brand. I think in the beginning I was just like, I don't get it.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people didn't.
Yeah, I think I just was like, oh, so like, you know, to like be clear about who I am, I think I'm also just a little bit like, I don't get all the things. I'm not Tom Brown, you know what I mean? Where he is a very specific, like, I understand this, I don't understand this. Like, I think I'm slightly more commercial minded than him. But I think I just like didn't understand in the beginning. And I'm really glad that like I get it now. And that they're like the expansion that you guys have is huge. But I think in fashion, it's so easy just to look at people and like
You'd be like, okay.
dismiss it.
And it's so true. So
How's that felt?
At first, I used to really care. I used to care
Right.
so much about like not being in these certain things or not getting this or like wanting an award and like all this stuff. I used to care so much. And then, you know, you turn around, I look at my office, I look at the brand I built,
Right.
I look at my customers, like all the things I was able to accomplish with like no real fashion connections or like anybody to this day with no investors and everything, like no one can tell me shit. And because of that,
Right.
like I realized I don't need every single thing I want because I've gotten so much just naturally that I'm super blessed for.
Well, also like there's this thing where when after I won the fashion fund in 2015, I called my mom and I was so excited. And I was like, Mom, like, that thing that I was in. And
Yeah.
I was like, I won. And she was like, oh, great. She's like, I hope that this gives you the freedom to no longer feel like you have to compete for things that were not designed for you and seek validation from places that like are not for you.
That's
and I
real.
was like, whoa.
Thanks, Mom. Like,
yeah, I was like, okay, well, I got cash, but whatever, bye.
Yeah.
Like, so, but it did make me think, right? It's like, well, why are some of these things so important to us?
Yeah.
And it's like at the end, and who's voting for that thing? It's like someone was talking to me last night about some beauty awards that they went to, and I was like, who's a judge?
Yeah.
Like, why do we care about this? Are those the people that we really want to like submit our work to for validation or for like, of course, if there's cash, like I'm always a proponent of like get free cash where you can, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because free cash is really hard to come by. So like I love a grant, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like, there's some of these girls who are out here. Daniela Kallmeyer, I just saw that she was in New York Times or something. It's like, girl, I've known her for like 15 years. She's been designing.
Oh, wow.
And now I'm sure next year she's going to like win some crazy award. And everyone's going to be like, have you heard of this new designer, Daniela Kallmeyer?
You're going to be like, well.
Who like made a tie that went viral or something. It's interesting because it's like we work so hard and then everyone's like, oh, this thing blew up overnight.
Yeah.
But I guess yours like kind of did blow up, but not overnight. But 50,000% is huge.
Yeah. It took 5 years and those 5 years were rough. But
did anything bad happen? I was always getting like evicted.
Oh, so, I always kept a job in true Jamaican fashion. I always had like 3 jobs. So I didn't really just rely on the brand until I knew like I was going to be fine. Yeah. But I was working at a jewelry store. I was working at Crossroad Trading. And I was working at my brand and doing all the things. So I kept it pretty tight. So nothing crazy like that. But I mean, there's been times where like I missed like really big orders, like dates, and couldn't do anything with it. I've had a shipment of bags that they forgot to stamp the logo on, and they arrived to America, and I didn't know what to do, so that was fun. I've had the wrong color of things made. My QC is like, this is not magenta, and I'm like, yep, it's not. It looks like green, and a lot
so you
of
just
things,
like launched a new colorway, like surprise drop.
A lot of things like that have happened. Oh, this is a good one, actually. So there was a collection that was supposed to drop last year. It's on the container because we're doing like a shit ton of volume. So it's like, it has to go by boat.
Right.
It's on the container goes missing.
No.
Container ends up in Mexico. Mexico's like, this isn't allowed. We're going to actually like toss this. We have to literally call the Mexican like border and like beg. They're like, get this out of here ASAP and you can take it. We figure that out. It's on its way to New York, disappears again because of weird logistics that were out of our control. Containers missing. We chalk it up to a loss. We have some insurance on it. We're going to be fine. Do you know on eBay, it's all these unreleased styles? eBay, Poshmark, they just started popping up. Someone just took that and it was making a crap ton of money. I bought one because I was like, this can't be.
Of course, you have to
literally,
check.
My whole collection gone. And like, I was really excited for this one too. Just gone. And they took it and they sold it all over online. And my lawyer was like, it's so many people. We can't even figure this out.
Whoa.
And they were selling those. So I was like, okay, at least this is doing well.
Right. You're like looking at the eBay bids.
Yeah,
you're like trying to bid on things.
I'm like, I'm so happy. Like, at least people want it. So some of those styles are going to now release later. Like,
when
in a month.
Was that?
This was last year. Like, it was supposed to happen last like summer.
Oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Yeah, so that was recent.
Okay, you were talking about the ethos of the brand. Tell me what you feel is the ethos of Brandon Blackwood.
So I used to literally try to beat myself over the head finding my aesthetic and finding like, what it is that this brand looks like, sounds like, represents, all that stuff. And I realized I like too much stuff and I changed my mind too much. I don't have an overall aesthetic or like idea and it's always changing. I kind of like it that way. I think when it comes down to like the ethos of my brand, it's more so about the customer, like who we are as like a unit, if that makes any sense.
So ethos of the brand.
Yeah, the ethos of the brand, I feel like we don't have like a set aesthetic or a set world we live in. I think I really focus it around the cousins or the customers and who that group is and who we are as like a whole collective. I think, you know, when we first started out, we had like all the hot girls,
Right.
all the young girls. Like my top cities were like New York, Atlanta, Texas,
Right.
Miami,
Miami.
and here, and it's just like in LA. And then it grew from there. So I think that's like kind of like where the brand kind of came from. That's like who was like really wearing the brand and like championing it from the beginning.
Right.
So it's always gonna have like a little dash of that forever.
Right.
But I think as I get older and as I grow, you know, I'm not the same person from like 2020, but I kind of always try to take my new interests as well and like new things that I love and try to bring it in. And I think our brand too, especially with our price point, you know, we sell things from like 150 like 600. So I think for a lot of people, we're like a lot of people's first bag that was like a couple $100s, you know. So I think with that responsibility, we kind of hold this customer's hand through, you know, their entry level.
Yeah, it's a considered purchase for a
Yeah.
lot of people. They're visiting the website multiple times.
Exactly.
They're deciding. They're sending it to their friends.
Yeah,
They're saying,
like
"What do you think?"
we have a lot of people who, you know, can buy 5 of my bags in one go and like not think
Right.
about it. But a lot of our customers are saving up and like
Yeah.
really, really excited about this. So because of that, I think we're holding their hands into this kind of new arena of
Right.
fashion,
Right.
which is exciting. It's like a really cool moment. That's why too with my packaging, I always say I want my packaging to feel like you're opening like a $2,000-$3,000 bag, you
Right.
know, because I do the dust bags and like the little note cards and everything because I want my customer, even if you're spending like $250,
Yeah.
I want you to feel like you have something special. And I want you to feel special buying
Right.
it.
And it is special. Do you feel like from a brand ethos perspective, do you feel any pressure to continue to be a certain way or a certain thing because so many people discovered you from the end systemic racism bag?
I mean, I think it was more so forced on me.
Right.
Like, I remember one of our stockists was introducing us, like, not introducing like a new collection. They were like super sweet. They're like, we're gonna put you like in our email, like whatever. And I was like, that's a huge email list. So I was super excited. They sent the email out. They said activist designer, and I was like, what the hell is an activist designer?
Right. Well, I can tell you, but
It's
yeah.
like, no, but you know what
But
I mean.
it's hard. No, it's
And
hard.
you know, everybody else, it's not activist designer or whatever.
Right.
And I think with me, everyone's like, oh, you're black first, so
Right.
we're going to put you everywhere else except for. I would also say, too, like my interviews, things like that. One time I stopped an interview, I was like, you know, I'm always asked about being black.
Yes.
It's always ESR. Oh my God, you grew up in Brooklyn. How was that?
Yes.
Like, everyone wants, like, you know,
Right.
some narrative. I was like, you know, I've never been asked, like, what my favorite, like, coffee shop is or like my favorite bookstore, like
Right.
where do I like to vacation. Like I don't get asked those questions. And if you look at all the other like white designers and stuff, like
right,
you get to get like a day in the life.
right.
No one
It's
does
like
that with
T
me.
magazines calling you to be like, what's your favorite resort?
Yeah, like I've never been only once. Shout out to Glamour magazine. They did like a skincare routine, but nobody asked about like stuff like that. InStyle did something too.
Oh, that's
recently,
interesting. I feel like I've seen your apartment. So I think of you as like design. I think of you
Yeah.
also in the art space, obviously, because you're also hanging out with Shaba.
Yeah, that's been bubbling up a little bit.
Yeah.
It's fun.
But I'd say in general, people want to one-dimensionalize.
And that's like all black designers. And I feel like it's something Beth Ann has had many talks with me about it too. But I think with black designers, you know, they just always want to group you up and that's what you become. And I think Beth Ann said it best. She was like, you know, you're only going to really shine and succeed when they put you next to your like counterparts, not when they just group you all up because you're black. Like, you know, put me next to other brands and other people that don't look like me. I'm sure I'll still find a way to like shine through, you know? But that's like what I want. And they don't do that. They're just like, okay, you four are black, stand here together and do this thing.
Do you think even still now? Really?
If you saw our PR email and like our requests for what to do, we joke and say it's February and June. Like Black History Month and Pride. That's the only time certain brands want to work with us. And I have a rule now where I'm like, no, ask them to follow up in like March and see what they say. Never happens. That's just how it is. It's annoying.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
That part of it's really hard because I think, and we deal with this sometimes in the at the pledge too, right? Especially with beauty brands. Someone like Shani Darden, it's like that's moisturizer. That's moisturizer that works for anyone.
I love her, by the way.
Isn't she amazing?
She's so fun.
Yeah. If you say like, okay, this is a Black-owned brand, then there's a whole segment of white people that are like, oh, this can't work for me.
This isn't for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Or this isn't for me. And that's hard and weird because to me, Black brands aren't just for Black people.
Exactly.
Right. I mean, at Brother Veli's, like, I definitely know the majority of our customer was not Black pre-2020. I think more Black consumers found out about us post-2020 because more Black consumers had larger emphasis on shopping Black post-2020, as did white consumers, the general population. That's why so many of our sales spiked.
Yeah.
But I never really had, that thing before where people would be like, oh, I can't wear this. I mean, a couple times because people would be like, oh, if I wear this Maasai sandal, is it cultural appropriation? Like, did white people buy your End Systemic Racism bag?
They did.
Wow.
They did.
Like, what percentage of people do you think were not Black that bought that bag?
I don't have like any like
data. You're not calculating race data on your customers? Okay.
No, but I think there was a good amount. It was definitely majority Black people buying that bag, but it was, and there was also a lot of conversation in my like comments everywhere too about that as well. Like,
what were people saying?
Some white people like didn't buy the bag because they were like, I don't think I'm allowed to wear it. And then
are they allowed to wear it?
I think so.
These are the things I wonder about,
I think so. If you want to end systemic racism, then you shouldn't.
Yeah. I mean, to me, as a Black person, I would feel, I think I feel like it's more of a statement to see a white person carrying it even than it is a Black person carrying it.
And that's the thing. It's like, so that was always the kind of discussion. And I just wanted like the message in the bag out there.
Right.
But I didn't really see issue with it. There was so much discussion within that too. But I would say majority still was Black and POC people.
Are we getting another End Systemic Racism bag? Are you like,
no, I'm still talking about it 5 years later.
Right. That's like me. I'm never making another tax the rich dress.
Yeah.
It's like there's some things where you're like, yeah, it was good, and like we're ready to close that chapter and move on.
That's kind of where I am with it.
Yeah.
Like we even stopped producing it for a while.
You stopped producing it?
Yeah, we stopped producing it for a while. We don't make any new ones. So.
Oh, great. So if I was going to invest in something for my Brandon Blackwood archive, it should be an End Systemic Racism bag because the production stopped, and therefore, like in 15 years from now, if the Met does an exhibit on your collection, they're going to be calling me to say, can we borrow your End Systemic Racism bag? And I'm going to be like, from which collection? Because I have 18.
We also, it's already in the museum.
Which one?
Cool. The African Museum.
That's cool. You're like, it's somewhere.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
But it's really exciting.
No, I think what I'm hearing you say is that the best investment right now is a Brandon Blackwood End Systemic Racism bag because the production has stopped, and therefore it's going to be worth a ton of money in the future.
Once they're gone, they're gone.
Once they're gone, they're gone. And when, a museum calls me and is like, hey, we need this from your archive, I'm going to be able to supply it.
It's already in the museum too, which is awesome.
Whoa, which museum?
The Blacksonian.
Okay.
Very exciting.
Okay. Awesome. All right. What else? Is there anything that we haven't touched on yet that you want to touch on? I mean, I guess I do still have more of a classic friends and family question. So, okay, I started Brother Valley's with $3,500. I think everyone's heard me say that. I almost lost my business a number of times. I took out really bad loans, ended up I've done all the business mistakes. And I think when I hear about you talking about how fast your business grows and the fact that you did so much direct to consumer, which I'm a huge fan of because I just think the more we can own our own economics, the easier it is to have strong margins, right? But how have you managed to grow the business? Like, how much did you know about business? How many your face is totally changed?
I know. I didn't know anything about business
Really?
going into it, but my mom, she's always been like a businesswoman. She's a contractor now, but before that, she's working on Wall Street. She just always was into all of that stuff, and I feel like just naturally something got passed down. But starting, I was really, really learning fast, learning quickly, but I think I always operated in the beginning. I think I was so clueless that it helped. Like, I was so naive that helped. Like, I'd be like, okay, well, I just made $10,000. I'm going to use that whole thing.
Right.
And make new product. And it would work. You know, obviously I don't do that anymore. But that in the beginning stages, it was a lot of learning. And now, you know, just with a lot of help and a lot of like the right accountants and people, like I've been able to really scale it in a good way. But we definitely like have our issues sometimes. You know what I mean? Because we don't have investors or we don't have someone like, you know, helping us out, we really have to plan and be really strict, even though there is such a demand. I feel like people always ask me, like, why don't you have a store? You know, like, why don't you have all this? I'm like, do you know how expensive that is? And like, I don't know if I'm brave enough yet to like take on those bigger responsibilities. So it's always like a push and pull. It's like literally just kind of me making all the decisions with money. It's just, it gets a little scary.
Are you the CEO? And have you ever thought about raising money? You're like, yeah, I think about it, but
yeah, like we go back and forth. It's just scary.
It's also really hard within fashion, right? Because it's like, you know, the people, and this is the whole part that people don't think about. It's like the people want their money back.
Exactly.
Right? And they're like, we're giving you 5 years and we want 5 times back what we gave you.
Exactly. And that's the thing. I think we have a pretty solid track record, but like we go back and forth just because I've been independent for so long.
Right.
I just couldn't imagine now like answering to someone or like playing with someone, you know what I mean?
No, it's really like a marriage.
Yeah, and I just like it would be a very big thing, especially like with this brand, like already what kind of like what we're doing numbers wise and everything. I just like it's like, oh my God, do I want to just hand this to someone? I think if the right situation came along, I would consider it, but
I don't think you ever really like hand it. I just feel like someone's like yelling at you, like, run faster.
See, like
I mean, sometimes there's great partners, but I just think fashion's really hard.
It's a tough industry.
It's a really, really hard one.
Like, I feel like end of last year and this year, oh my gosh, like this has been like one of the few times where like all my other like designer friends have been like, what the hell's going on? I think everyone's feeling it. Like, it's really, really scary. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think a lot of fashion brands are probably going to close in the next year.
I feel like that too. So
it's
kind of spooky.
One other like very formative memory that I have of you, which obviously wasn't the first time we met, but it was one of the first times that we spent time together, was at either the first or second Pledge Gala. And people really need to know this story. You came and we were giving out grants.
Oh my God, yeah.
You were giving out grants and, you know, the first place winner got a bunch of money and the second place winner got a bunch of money and the third place winner got some money and the fourth place winner got nothing. And that sucks always, like, you know.
Yeah.
And you were so gracious and you came up to us and you were like, I want to donate money for the fourth place winner so that they also get a grant. And I was so taken aback by that and touched by that, and it like really stayed with me forever. And so we were able to then go up on stage and announce that because of your generosity, this person was also going to get money, and they were so stoked. What made you do that?
I honestly just
you're like, I was just rich.
No. I feel like I just like I want everybody to win. I want everyone to have something.
Yeah.
But also it's just like being in that environment,
right,
and just seeing like everyone so excited and like seeing all these brands and hearing all their stories, like it's very hard for me to like hear someone's story and just be like, okay, well, good
luck.
you know. So
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
I'm glad you guys said yes. I was like, please.
No, I was like,
So, yeah.
absolutely. You know, it's really funny because we were talking about trolls earlier, and not that someone was trolling me, but someone was complaining and saying that it was really hard to do the grant application. And I was like,
It's free money.
it's free money. And I literally, like, I think I responded this, and I don't respond to things like that much, but I think it was on Threads. And I literally responded, like, if you think it's hard to fill out a grant application, imagine you're not ready for it, but also imagine how hard it is to convince someone to give you money to give away for grants.
Literally.
That's
kind of crazy. Yeah.
So it's like, guys, like, yeah, I understand that the form is hard, but also it's really hard to like get money from people to give to you for free.
Yeah.
Because the girls are not trying to give out money for free these days. They're trying to invest, maybe. But as we all know, it's also super hard to get an investor. You know?
So like, yeah.
Right. Also, the Supreme Court has not made it any easier to give out grants to Black founders. So it's really hard, you know? So when you stepped up to the plate in that way, it was like forever a thing for me. No, I brought it up so much that year, and I still bring it up all the time. No, I do. I still bring it up all the time, you know, and I bring it up at CFD. I'm like, well, just so you guys know, like, you know, like, because I think that the pledge has that special community of people who, and it's when you're a Black founder that actually like makes it in some capacity, most of us do anyways, understand the weight of that.
Yeah.
And how lucky.
And then seeing another Black brand is just like, oh my God, I know exactly what you're going through, how you feel.
Totally. And it's so hard. And I think people are even harder on us. Right. And just being able to say, okay, like I've made it to a certain place. I don't know what the future holds, but I'm going to give what I can give in this moment, I think is super powerful. No, that story was great and crazy though, about your, like the graduation day. Whoa. Okay. So how did you go from like the spoiler to your family that you're not going to be like a neuroscientist to actually starting Brandon Blackwood as a brand? And like, was your mom totally horrified?
Mom loves it now.
I'm sure.
She's the biggest.
They always love it now.
Yeah, of course. But when I moved out in 2013, I immediately started working at Crossroad Trading.
And that's like the consignment store.
Calling it consignment is very nice.
Really? Okay. Yeah.
Long time ago, yeah. So I was there working, whatever. I ended up being a buyer. So the buyer basically like bought in everybody's used clothes. A lot of editors and stylists get gifted stuff.
Oh, wow. Right. Yes.
Give it away. So I would meet all these people, and I'd like always like kind of up the prices for everybody and hook them up. And I kind of made some connections with people that way. And I don't know what came over me, but one night I literally just like didn't go out with friends. I was invited, I didn't go. And I was like, okay, what am I going to do at home? I literally just Googled, like, I was like, I'm going to make a bag for myself. Literally.
No
I was like,
way.
Yeah, I was like, I'm going to make a bag for myself. But literally not to start a brand or like have a business. I just wanted to do something.
Okay, so this was in 2013.
Yes.
When you're working at Crossroads, basically making $12 an hour. $10.71.
$10.21.
$10.21. Did you cast your vote for Bernie Sanders that year? Because wasn't he trying to be like $20 minimum wage?
Yeah.
No, like you're like $20. That's double my rate. Yes,
I would have
Bernie.
felt like the richest person on the planet. Okay,
right.
But basically, I look up a manufacturer. There's I forget the name of it, but it was right in the garment district. Okay. And I went to them. I emailed them. I lied and I was like, oh, I'm starting a brand because I just want one sample. I literally meet with these people on my off days. I sketch it out. They make it.
How much did they charge you?
Oh my God. It was like $1,200.
Oh, wow.
But
okay,
I really
for the
wanted
first
it.
sample.
But they gave me like payment sums because I told them I worked at Crossroads.
Right.
So, I mean, I was paying them a little $100 here and there. Like,
oh my gosh. We have to find these people.
I know. I think it was called By Call.
We need to find them again. And like you need to do a collection with them. You need to. You're like, no, I'm like ready already. No, but we need to do like a, we need to call it like the Crossroads Made in America, or so. You're like, this is a horrible idea.
I don't like that idea at all. But
I want to see the one sample.
It was my Portmore backpack. It was like a
wow.
little square backpack, and everyone thinks the trunk. It was my first bag was a backpack, but I made that bag. And I would just wear it to work, but all the stylists and all the editors I was like hang out with, I'd show them and be like, oh, look what I just did. And she was an editor at Essence at the time. Now she's just like kind of like, I don't even want to call her an influencer. She's just like so much more. She does everything.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Candace.
Oh, okay.
Stewart.
Okay, yeah, I know who that is.
Candace Stewart. Shout out to Candace. She was at Essence at the time, and she's like, oh, this is so cute. Give me a high res of it. I didn't even know what a high res was.
Right.
I was like, what? She's like, a high res image, because she was going to put it in like a roundup.
Right.
I called my friend from college. He came over to my house, shot them really quickly, sent it, and I saw it in a roundup. It was like Margiela, me, and like some other brands, and I freaked out. That's when I was like, oh, this needs to be a thing. And I saved up a ton of money.
Define a ton.
So I had $4,000 from my like graduation money, and then I saved up. Oh God, it was like $7,000 total.
Okay.
Yeah, and then.
But that, by the way,
off $10. That like took forever.
Right, and even the fact that you're saying like I saved up a ton of money, and I'm like, how much? And you're like $7,000. You know, when by the way, like the average white American starts their business with $100,000.
What?
Yeah.
No,
because also I think what's so important about this, and part of the reason why I like love doing this podcast and I love talking to you right now, is like you were working at Crossroads making $10, you saved up $7,000, and you were like, I'm going to place this bet on me.
Yeah, and it was, and my frontal lobe wasn't closed yet, so I was really into it. So I just knew it was going to work out, and thank God it did. But it was rough, and that was my first order. I think I ordered like 20 backpacks, paid for my website, my LLC, and all that stuff.
So did you order the 20 backpacks from that same place in the garment district?
No, because they were charging so much, and I knew I couldn't sell. Like
so already you were like, I'm going to do my production somewhere else.
Yeah, I knew. I was like, this has to be.
So you do have a business somewhere, because a lot of girls would be like, you know what? It costs $1,000, so I'm selling it for $2,500. No, that's what it is.
I always said very early on, I have so many people that like are rooting for me. Even like my friends, my family back then, they can't afford $1,000 bag.
Right.
They can spend $250 though.
Right.
And I was like, if this is gonna be my customer, so I never went in wide-eyed thinking I could sell like $1,000, $2,000 things. Like I never wanted to do that. I always was like, I'm gonna sell directly to the people around me, and I think that's why it grew so fast too. You know, here was a new thing that was actually affordable. People could take a little chance on it, and I knew right away, like, I wanted my stuff to be like under 500. And it was a long, long road. Like getting into wholesaler. Shop-Op was my first order.
Really?
And that was a $30,000 order, and you couldn't tell me anything. Oh my God. I was like, I've made it. I'm going to buy a home tomorrow. Like my life is set. I was so excited.
But that's such a big deal when you get a $30,000. Oh yeah.
And that order, it was me and my ex at the time. We boxed it all up at my house, at my mom's house, in her living room, and sent it out. My mom's guy, we're all Jamaican, so like everybody got a truck.
Yeah.
So basically, I called Delroy. He came with his truck. We went to the FedEx place. I cried all day. And when they received it, they were like so happy and like, oh, I was like on top of the world.
Did you screenshot it when it went online? You were like,
I just couldn't imagine. And then the D2C was actually, it was always had some movement.
Really?
But I was shameless on Instagram. Like if you follow my personal account, if I like this vase, I'm gonna like post it on my story and be like, very cute at Aurora's house. Like I'm annoying like that, but I was always an overshare.
I used to have a friend like that. My ex was like, she can't come over anymore. No, seriously, because he would be like, this is crazy. Because we would just be like having a conversation. She'd just be like filming it, you know?
No, that's not good. But I mean, I just used to overshare everything with the brand.
You did? Oh, with the brand. Okay.
With the brand. And I didn't realize, but it was really, really great marketing.
Yeah.
Everything was like, so everybody knew what was coming up. Everyone knew my price points, everything. Everybody knew everything just from
the
social.
oversharing. Whoa.
And I think that really helped build also the customer base.
Did you take a selfie in my bathroom?
No.
Should I be offended?
Not yet.
Yeah, great job telling that story. It was really great. Loved hearing that.
That is
So happy I asked
wild.
how much a ton of money was.
Yeah. I know.
Because you never know. You know, with Emma, she's like, 7 million. You know? And I'm just like, but how did you get $7 million? Like, I don't understand.
Do you still have their number?
Yeah, like
please,
what?
Please.
So you have this neuroscience degree.
Mm-hmm.
How, if at all, are you using that in what you're doing now?
So neuroscience really as a whole is a lot of like fun facts, but like useless information.
Okay.
But I would say I use a lot of color theory when I'm thinking about obviously drops, things like that. Like, do you know why all the fast food restaurants have red
No.
in their logos?
No.
It's because the color red incites like hunger and like
Really?
want. So think of every fast food restaurant right now. There's red somewhere in their logo.
Whoa.
Like things like that. So playing around with little things, and then just more so on the psych side of it, like when we do drops, the times we do drops, we
the
switch
language.
it. Yeah, the language, everything that really plays into it. So I think that's where my degree kind of helps.
Whoa, fascinating.
But for the most part, it's useless.
How old were you when you graduated?
I was 20.
Okay.
I went to Bard at 17.
And when you were little and you were thinking about what you wanted to be when you were older, what did you think?
I knew I went to work in fashion.
Always.
But I used to want to be a vet for a quick second.
We all did. I wanted to be a marine biologist.
Yeah, like, we all had that fantasy. And then I knew I wanted to do fashion, but I was like, I'm going to be an editor.
Okay.
I didn't even know what an editor did. But
I don't think most editors even know what they do.
And then I went to be an editor. Then I was like, I want to be a stylist. I dated a stylist and saw how horrible it is.
Yeah, bad job.
It's a
Lots of carrying things.
And a lot of responsibility. I was like,
Right.
Mm-mm. And then design had my accent, but I always tell people I would never be a designer. Because I was like, it looks so stressful.
Right. And hard.
Yeah, and it is stressful and hard. It's horrible sometimes.
Yeah, it's horrible.
But
you're like, I'm going to go home and cry right now.
Oh, yeah, this brand's made me cry so much.
Was there a moment where you were like, this is it, this is the end, I can't do this anymore?
I mean, yeah, like...
Yesterday or?
Literally, like...
Yeah. All the
4
time.
times a year.
Right.
There are times I'm like, you know what? This brand is done. I'm tired. I can't do this. I'm going to go and like garden.
Right.
Like all the time.
Right.
But then I'm like, shit, I have responsibility. And I actually do like this.
Right. How long does the moment last when you're like, I don't know if I can do this anymore?
Anywhere from like 2 days to like a month. And I snap out of it. It's bad. Like sometimes I really just go low. But I think that's just natural. I think if you ever spoke to a designer that was like weirdly too optimistic and too happy with their brand, they're probably not doing well, or they're probably not doing a lot of work.
That's true.
Yeah, like they're not working.
I feel like I was one of my most optimistic, like that one week that I was on Etsy.
You see?
Yeah, I feel like I was like, oh, the sky's the limit. You know, I sold one shoe.
You know?
It was all downhill from there.
Exactly.
If you could go back into the past right now, what is one thing that big Brandon would want little Brandon to know?
Man, I don't think, this sounds kind of corny, but I wouldn't change anything. Like, even the shitty things I needed to experience to learn the lesson. I think if big brand just went to little brand would be like, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
I needed to go through the ringer to like...
It all counts for something.
To be here.
Yeah.
So I don't think I would change anything.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah.
I believe that.
I'm really trying to think. I can't think of... I don't think I would change anything. I wouldn't have bought my first house.
You wouldn't have bought it? Why?
Because I didn't like it. I just did it because I was like, I need a house. Like, I made money. I need a house.
Oh, because you felt like that's what you were supposed to do.
Yeah. And like,
so you're caught in that trap again. Things you were supposed to do.
Exactly. Ugh.
What is the one thing that you think that you might be doing right now that's a thing that you feel like you're supposed to be doing that maybe there's a voice inside of you that's like, I don't know that this is what I want to do?
Mm. I don't know.
Okay, I'll go first. Mine was a relationship that I was
Oh,
having.
I was going to say dating.
Okay, see,
like,
they always know. You just have to open up
related,
first and say what yours is.
I'm like newly single, and it's been
How new?
since last July. It's like 8, 9 months, and it's been a wild ride. It's fun, but it's like
How wild? You're like, this is a different podcast, so I'm going on Call Her Daddy.
No, but like I've just learned that
You learned what?
the dating pool really does have piss in it. It does. It's really intense, and I'm like, I thought I was gonna come back out here and like
Hot girl summer or whatever.
Yeah. No, I was like, fuck, this is not as fun as it looks. But
right. It always looks more fun when you're scrolling on Instagram when you're in a relationship than when you're actually single.
And then you're like, wait, no. Everyone that approaches me, I'm like, back. Just like throw something on them. It's bad. I attract like people that are way too confident.
So do I. Okay, that's
and they
interesting.
shouldn't be though. That's my problem.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you think maybe you'll just stay single for a while?
I'm a Libra. That's impossible.
Okay.
I don't know. I have a good like maybe 5 more months I'm giving myself
to be single.
It always just happens by accident.
Right. Where you're in a relationship.
And I love bombing. I love all the toxic stuff. Like, it's going to happen. Somebody's going to get me and trick me, and it'll happen all over again.
How old are you again?
33.
Okay. You can waste a few more years on some weird love bomber.
We'll
I don't know. 33 is one of those years where you feel like, oh my God, I'm getting so old.
I know.
33 is a hard one. 33, 34, all of that's hard because you're like, I'm about to be 35. I think 33, 34 is just as hard as like 38, 39.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but 33 really you do have time to like.
Wait, am I old enough to like really just take my time and dare like do it?
You are.
That's what my mom said.
Because I don't even think that you'd be able to adequately choose the right partner right now.
I haven't so far.
Right. I couldn't have chosen the right partner when I was 33. I mean, the person that I dated when I was 33, like I still call them all the time and ask for favors.
See,
we still have a good relationship.
I can do that with my ex too.
Yeah, but I definitely like don't want to be in a romantic partnership with that person.
Yeah, no. It's so funny. Same kind of situation.
Right. So that's
like,
why
I'll
it's
ask
okay.
for a favor and he'll be like, fuck you. I'm like, thank you.
Right.
Yeah, it's cool.
See you at the airport pickup. Yeah. I think like it's okay just to experiment at this time.
Yeah. So in 2021, we produced a bag and we had the sample shot. It was ready for e-com.
What did she look like?
All the units landed. It was a black like snakeskin bag with a green stripe down the middle. Now, this green stripe was supposed to be kind of like feathered out and looked like it was almost like spray paint on.
Okay.
That's how we bought the material. It didn't come out like that.
Okay.
It just looked very wild. So
very wild, like like a clean stripe,
it was
or just
clean,
like,
but like it just looked bad. Like it looked like someone just took a paint roller. It was not good. They probably did. Like it was not good.
Okay.
So QC did not catch that. We sell the bags. The bags sold out
as pre-order online.
No, this wasn't pre-order. Like once they got to the warehouse, we released all the units. Whatever, all the units are gone.
Okay.
Like 3 days passed. I'm like, we had such a great drop. I can't wait for the next one. These drops, like, were like our bread and butter, and that's like.
I'm already so scared.
Then another thing pops up. Then it's literally all these people with this bag. I mean, are cursing me out so bad. And I had such a good run up until then that I think people were like, yes, we got him. You know what I mean? Like, we told you he sucks.
Right.
I mean, like 50,000 retweets. I was trying number 7 in the country, a bag brand. And then the brand's my name. So it's just like Brandon Blackwood, number 7. We hate him. And I'm reading this, like crying.
Because of the green stripe?
Yes. No. And I just remember reading it and crying. And you know how I knew it was bad? My ex-stepfather, who like works in finance.
Not
and
your
does not,
ex-stepfather.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Like,
okay, yeah. I have like 4 of those. I get it. Go on.
Period. I got like 2. who works in finance and could not tell you who like Michael Kors is. Like he does not. He's so far removed from fashion. He texted me and said, "I'm so sorry you're going through this." And I was like, "Oh my God, it's reached you. Like this is not good." He even knew, so I knew it was bad. Oh my God, I sat in my house, cried for 3 days straight, and then like by the 5th day, it's like nothing happened, and I was like, "That's how the internet works." I was like, "Okay," and after that, it was such a learning experience. And I did need that because now my QC is like diabolical.
On point.
Like,
okay.
We don't miss a beat.
Right.
But I needed that moment. And, Julia Fox told me something very, very interesting. And I keep it with me, like in my heart.
Okay.
She's like, you can only be canceled if you allow yourself to be canceled. And I was like,
right.
Yes, thank you. So, yeah, that was my little moment. And there's been little things from there time and time again. But I think we just learned how to navigate it.
I mean, I have to say, that was okay.
No, Aurora. If you read the comments,
it was crazy.
No, like it was like it made it to the shade room. Like it was
really?
like yeah, like it was like the shade room follows me. Which I'm very proud of. I'm very proud of that.
Shout out to the shade room.
But it was everywhere.
Because they were that upset about the strike. I mean, the strike must have been really bad. I'm gonna have to Google it.
Please don't see like it became such a thing, and it just kept happening. So like. It just became a thing, and then they're like, I can't make bags, or like all my stuff is shit. Like it was so
People
bad.
do really just wait for one slip up though.
And that was my time to shine.
And sometimes these comments, like I think that people must think that there's no chance that you're gonna read it.
Oh yeah.
Because sometimes like
if you respond, they freak out sometimes.
Oh well, yeah. Sometimes if you respond, they're like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry."
One girl, this was like 3 weeks ago. She like. Because when they share your Insta story, you can see it. You can see, like, other people sharing it. Mm-hmm. She wrote, like, bring real men back. He's so gay. And I just responded to her. And I said, I am gay. Like, leave me alone. She's like, oh, my God, I'm so sorry. I was like, girl, people are fucking vicious. But it's nice, whatever.
People are... Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah, I get crazy stuff too. And then I sometimes I'll feel it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'll be like, oh my God. And then I'll be like, oh, like that's probably like a 13-year-old that's in history class in Boise, Idaho.
No, it's like a 40-year-old in like
Boise,
Idaho.
Right. A
13-year-old's like on TikTok.
Who's like also jerking off. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
No, they're just like really grumpy.
Well, we're over it now.
Yeah. Life moves on.
Cute. Cool. Yay. Oh, thank you so much for doing this. I had a really good time. Me. Yeah, that was really fun. Thank
you guys so much.
Yeah, that was great. I learned so much about you.